Chow it down. Chow it down with GCP Life. Welcome to GCP Life, episode number 28 for the 25th of November, 2022. GCP Life is sponsored by Kasna. At Kasna, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible, and I'm your host, Stephen Bancroft. On today's show, GCVE gets some long-awaited features, the Marketplace gets a new feature, we look at GKE gateways, and what does SRE and a broken wheel have in common? But before we get to any of that, I want to introduce the co-host of the show, Dave Wall. How you going, Dave?
Yeah, awesome, mate. Another fortnight, another podcast.
I know, another fortnight and another podcast. And I'll tell you, what a scramble to get this show together.
We just snuck up. I was checking my calendar this morning. I'm like, okay, I got a bunch of stuff I need to do. I'm like, oh no, there's like a 2-hour block for podcast. Oh, okay, all right.
I know.
Game face.
I think we mentioned in the last episode this project, back-to-back meetings, but it hasn't slowed down. It hasn't slowed down.
We got a lot to do and not much time to do, and Christmas rapidly approaching.
It is rapidly approaching, but yeah, we managed to carve out some time to get it out because we know there's some listeners out there that hang in to hear what we've got to say.
Definitely, yeah,
definitely. I've got a few little things going on the back burner. Actually, I thought I'd introduce you to this little project I'm working on, Dave. Check it out.
All right, yeah. Let me see. Okay, he's showing me a circuit board. This is very good audio.
This is great audio content. What I'm holding up here for Dave...
It's really big. What is
this? This is my tech adventure, my upcoming tech adventure. It's an EATX motherboard. It does not have a single component soldered onto it. I will be soldering every single component onto this board.
That's a lot of soldering.
It's huge, right?
What, like, you say EATX, but like what generation? What's it for? What is going onto that mobile?
And you know, I get all the components in a little bag like that. I've got a whole box full of components like that. What it is an Amiga 2000. Now, I know I've mentioned this on the show before. I'm an Amiga fanboy from way back. You cannot... Well, you can buy them secondhand, but they're usually broken and have problems, and they're like 40-year-old hardware, and quite often the batteries leak and just destroy the circuit boards on them. This thing is a modernized version of an Amiga 2000 with all the mod cons on it and modern componentry. Of course, you've got to use all the custom chips.
Yeah.
Vastly improved and fits in a modern case. So that's my little project. About 10 years ago, I threw my hands up and I soldered my Amiga stuff, but then this project came along. It's an open source project called EATX2K, and I went, you know what? I'm going to build one of those. I've always wanted to build one, so this is it.
Man. You're going to have some steady hands.
I know. And I got the magnifying glass and the whole thing. You see everything going on. But right now, in my shed over there, I've got every part that I need to put it together and make it work.
Right. So I'm envisioning that this is going to be like, like some people have like a project car that sits in their garage. It's like 20 years, like, Dad's project car. And I found a new gear stick for it. This is going to be you now, right? Like,
and it's like a 30-year-old Monaro or something like that. It's the same 40-year-old retro computer. Honestly, I don't know why I'm doing it. It's just because. That's why I'm doing it. I'm going to build this thing, and what am I going to be able to do with it? Not a lot. There's not even a decent web browser for the operating system. So.
We choose to do these things because they are hard. Will you have your Amiga running by the end of the decade? I say no.
No. But I worked it out. There's nearly 500 individual components that I've got to solder on. If I do like 15 a day, and that's 13 on that strip. then I can probably do it in about 50 days.
Weeks. Months. Calling me skeptical, but I will be very keen to see your progress.
Well, it's not the soldering that I'm worried about.
Okay, yeah.
It's the fault finding when the thing doesn't power up. That's the problem. Because it ain't going to turn on.
Yeah,
it ain't going to turn on the first time I switch it on, I guarantee.
No, because you have that problem. Like, I don't know about you, but every time I build a PC, they never turn on the first time. I'm shorting something. There's always some dumb thing. But at least with a PC, like, you know, I got like 5 things to even if I strip it all apart, it doesn't take that long to pull a PC apart, but you're going to have to go through and fault find every single...
That's right. I've got an oscilloscope and like the multimeter and a whole box and dice to do all that, but it's going to require some help from the guys on the Discord channel, I think. We'll see how we go.
Oh, good for you, mate. Good for you.
How do your tech adventures stack up to that?
You know what? I don't have anything that's too exciting. I did just recently have to do like a 3D print for someone. He had it was actually kind of cool. It was like a Palo Alto firewall that they wanted to get a mount for. But it was really dense. Like, it's small. Like, you picture like really like a branch office sort of thing, not a full 1RU, but it was really hefty and quite deep inside. So I had to kind of learn a few new interesting tricks on how to build. I ended up having to go to 2RU in size. I had to go like double thickness. But yeah, had to learn a whole bunch of tricks with like supporting it so that with that weight on the back that it wouldn't droop inside your rack once you deployed it, and where the power supplies were going to go. So it was pretty cool. I was glad to get it done, but each like iteration print was like a day's worth of printing. So I was sort of glad to have that one out of the house.
Yeah, 3D printing. I don't know. I've got to get my feet wet with 3D printing. I've never 3D printed something. But you know, I build computers from scratch. That's my bag.
I mean, it's good fun, and you learn a lot, especially when things don't go right. Like, having to learn how to do the maintenance, and they can be finicky. Yeah,
I remember hearing about RepRap. Was it the RepRap printer?
Yeah,
in
the RepRap
early
movement.
days, and the big deal at the time was it's a 3D printer that can print 3D parts for itself.
Yep, so it was a whole community, the RepRap community, and it's interesting. I'm giving a very small talk tomorrow in our team all hands.
Yes.
I'm going to go into some of this, but there was the patents on 3D printing expired, well, on the like plastic extrusion 3D printing expired in 2009, and as soon as they did, the market just exploded. All these like homebrew 3D printers became viable, and you had a whole bunch of like little micro companies spin up around being able to produce these.
Cool. I think part of my problem is I've actually got nowhere to put the printer. I have to work on that one.
Oh, they're not that big. I mean, they can be, but most of the ones will fit on a desktop or on a LAC table.
Yeah, all right, I might have to look into it, see what we can do. But what about Twitter? I don't think we can go without mentioning Twitter.
I'm agog, is what I am. I'll read the latest tweets that are the internal politics of this thing imploding. I don't even know where to begin. It's $44 billion to just set it on fire.
Just destroy it. So what have we got? Over the last few weeks, we've got sacked a bunch of engineers.
Well, half the company. Like
half the
instantly
company.
Gone.
And then rehired them based on how much code they'd written?
Oh, there was like some were hired back because it was like, oh, actually, we've sacked this entire team and we actually need them. There were code reviews based off lines of code. I saw a thing where Musk demanded all the engineers to turn up in the office within 3 hours, come up to the floor where he was, print off your most salient, this is a quote, your most salient code samples from like the last 6 months.
Right.
And, explain the value. Like, for a
wow.
start, because like a lot of good engineers take pride in the amount of code that they delete.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Right. If it's just, big chunks of code, like
that unnecessary or bloatware, yeah, you've got rid of it. $8 verified account, and then you had
just anyone, and anyone could do it.
Verified, and I'm just going to make a comment and send your stock price through the floor.
Yeah, someone impersonated the Eli Lilly pharmaceutical company, said like all insulin is free now, which is obviously a big money maker for them, and did significant damage. They're saying that across all these brands. I saw like him getting into Twitter beef with the heads of like global ad agencies, like his biggest actual clients. Like people who use Twitter aren't the clients, right? But the ad agencies are. He's getting to Twitter beef with his own customers and then blocking them. Like, what is this?
And allowing Trump back on the platform,
Like begging Trump to get back on the platform is more the case. I don't know where to start. It's just,
Well, I don't know. I'm second guessing myself on Twitter now. I could go and remove my account. I have an account there. Look, I barely use it, honestly. And GCP Life doesn't have an account on there. And the idea was to promote the show on there, but I'm having second thoughts about that. But the problem is, if you do go and remove your account, they've still got your data anyway. Same. Like I do have a Twitter account, but I'm terrible at it. I'm doing that whole self-promotion thing. I'm not good at that, admittedly. But and LinkedIn for us, I think LinkedIn is probably a better platform for that anyway.
True. Yeah. And I think the thing for me is like I'm a big SpaceX fan, right? Like I love the work that SpaceX does. I love the way he's driven SpaceX. Yeah.
And Teslas too. I mean, there's a lot of Tesla. You pull up any set of lights now and there'll be 3 Teslas in the traffic.
Yeah. So
like, come on. I mean,
but that's a very different thing. And even like SpaceX, as good as the work that they do, like they also have a reputation. They tend to burn through engineers within about 3 years, right? You go in there out of college, you do amazing work, get a huge uptick on your resume, and then you go off to a traditional aerospace company where you can actually work reasonable hours and maybe have a home life.
Yeah, and then you're done.
Yeah, but if to try and like shoehorn that culture onto a company that already exists,
very difficult to break the culture that already exists there, unless you sack half the staff. That tends to be a culture breaking move.
Well, yes, I mean, we didn't even touch on, there was the sacking half the staff, but then sending out a company-wide email saying like, hey, everyone, you're all going to work in the office, you're going to do like 84-hour weeks for no more money. Click this link to confirm that you agree. If not, I'll give you 3 months severance. Like, what?
Yeah.
Who would write that?
I did see a tweet from actually, for whatever reason, I follow quite a few people on I do follow people on Twitter, and Elon Musk is one of them. But for whatever reason, Twitter keeps surfacing Elon Musk's tweets to me like constantly, right? Even though there's heaps of other things I follow. And there was an engineer had replied to Elon Musk and said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, words to the effect of, we used to have meetings where we discussed the color and positions of icons. But in the last week, I've rewritten the entire code base to a back-end messaging system that I've hated for years. I've never felt more alive.
Yeah. However, now, because of the whole blue tick verification thing being a scam, we don't know if that's true or not. That could be a Twitter engineer. It could be anyone.
Okay, you're right. You got me there. Like, touche.
That's the other side of it. Like now we can't trust any of them.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I mean, look, it's different horses for different courses, right? I mean, clearly something worked well at SpaceX, right? They basically did the impossible. They were told that, vertical landing was a thing of science fiction and could not be done, but it was done, right? So clearly, there's people that enjoy that work environment, right? I imagine it would have been a high pressure work environment, high performance, and they did the impossible. There are going to be people at Twitter that want to work like that, but there are obviously people there that don't want to work like that.
But you've also got to consider, though, the mission as well, right? Like, if you're at SpaceX and you're like, all right, we are making the humanity multiplanetary, right? We're going to do things that nobody has ever done, right? Like, that's inspiring. When, like, you talk to someone, they're like, oh, wow, you work at SpaceX. Oh, yeah, cool. And same goes for Tesla, right? Like, okay, we got this, environmental revolution. We're going to save the world from climate, or we're going to, help save the world from climate change. Like, you can get on board with that. It was like
making a difference.
It's like, we let people, send 280 characters about whatever they're thinking right now.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I'm a bit.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, like it's a different thing, right?
It's not as world changing, is it? Well, I mean, you could argue it is, really. I mean, it's the communication platform now. I mean, world leaders are having argy-bargies on it,
and I think that is where it's also got interesting, because it has been used as an official communication arm for governments all over the world, all sorts of public figures. So they do have a stake in it, but
I don't know. we could waste breath on this for a lot longer, but we're not going to.
No.
Let's get on with the news items. And first cab off the rank for this week is GCVE. We love a bit of GCVE, and it's got a bunch of new features. What do you think about this, Dave? Yeah.
So it was a huge amount of updates, and it kind of like these were things that we as in internally we knew that were on the roadmap. We had done some testing of some of these features, but when it hit GA on Friday, the release notes, I was like, oh, that's a surprise.
It just dropped, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and
of course, we're in the middle of a project. We're sort of planning from one direction. All these features drop, and it's like, hang on a minute, now we've got to do it this way.
No, if we were like kind of 3 weeks, if this had happened like 3 weeks from now, it would definitely have changed what we'd had to do. So kind of just in the nick of time. But a couple of really nice features. So the first one I think is probably the GA of the CLI, like the G-Cloud commands, to be able to stand up VMware Engine clusters, and the API access too. So we did some early access on this back in September, and it's really awesome to see that come up now. So you can't use like Terraform with it just yet, but now the fact that the APIs are available, it's only a matter of time for that provider to be created. So that's super cool. And another one, and this was also a big surprise, is that they've now pushed vSAN stretched clusters. So this allows you to do like multi-zone HA with VMware Engine. That's now gone to GA. It's only in one country in Europe. It's in the Frankfurt region for now. But it's only a matter of time before that expands out. So that's really exciting to see that come in. That's a really awesome feature to be able to have, multi-zone HA without having to worry about like a DR cluster or anything like that. So
yeah, so just for everyone listening, what's going on under the hood to make that stretch cluster happen? Like, what is it actually, and what could you expect if you were building out a stretch cluster? Right.
So on the underlay, there's actually sort of three sides involved in a VMware vSAN stretch cluster, right? So you just to level set, vSAN is hyperconverged storage. So if you think physical servers that have their own disk, it kind of pulls all the disks together across all of the the physical servers and shares
like we've been doing with RAID for forever.
Yeah, kind of, but you're talking physical servers, right? And it's sending that data over the network. and happens in VMware Engine. You've got a 50 gig, well, it's a 100 gig link, but 50 gig for vSAN storage to facilitate that traffic. Now, in a stretched cluster, you have, say at the bare minimum, the minimum one, right? You would have in zone A, you'd have 3 nodes. And then in zone B, you would also have 3 nodes. And so you not only have the storage kind of converged on one side, but you've also got it in a whole other data center, and you have a really, really, really fast link, low latency link between the two. It's like, I think it's a 5 millisecond round trip time. And your VMs can run on one side or the other. And if you're using, and you will be, an SXT for the networking, you can have all your network on both sides.
Yeah.
And if one side goes down, then just native VMware HA/DRS brings up your VMs on the other side.
Yep.
So that's really cool.
And of course, we're using Google's internal network to do all of this. So we have uber bandwidth and super low latency connecting our zones together.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about standing up any of that. And it's a fully validated solution. There's also, to have a stretched cluster normally, you have to have a third site witness. So it's like a virtualized VMware node that looks at the other two, so it can see if one goes down and help tie break when you've only got 2. And you get that as part of this as well, but Google manages it for you. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, we had a bit of an aha moment when we looked at that. We go, where does this fit into the picture? And then
how do I stand it up? Don't need to.
Don't need to. No, one less thing to worry about.
So yeah, that's really good, and I think that there's been plenty of enterprises that have been waiting for that feature to come out.
Interesting point here in this article. It goes in and says we are launching zone protection with stretched private clouds, which improves the availability and reliability beyond the industry-leading 99.99% SLA. So you're getting a better SLA than 99.99. I guess that's 5 nines then, maybe?
It'd be an additional decimal. I don't know if it's a whole extra 9 or it's a...
They're not giving us exact numbers, but they are saying better than 4 nines, yeah.
Yeah, your RTO, when you've got stretch clustering, is super tight because you're just waiting for VMware to see that the hosts are down, and then it goes, oh, okay, if I can't get to the host, they must be down. It means the VMs that they were running are down. I'll bring them up. So you're really only allowing for a heartbeat time and then the time it takes for your VMs to come up.
Yeah, and with the way it's configured in GCP, it brings up the nodes on the entire node. So if you lose the 3 nodes on the A side and you've already got 3 nodes on the B side, it'll bring up 6 nodes on the B side?
If you need to. Depends on how your compute's laid out. You would have...
Oh, yeah, right, of course. Yeah.
So if you were, say, balanced... Because you have to have the storage is copied on both sides. But if you had, say, one side where the CPU and memory was going, like, really hard, then you could just have your auto-scaling kick in. So, like, okay, now I have to run 6 nodes worth of workloads on the other side. I better go and spin up another 3 nodes.
Yep. So... yeah, that auto-scaling gets away from the paradigm of having to have that 50-50 split with your...
Yeah, if you were on-prem,
workloads,
if you were on-prem, you'd have to provision for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So you don't have to deal with that at all.
No, because the auto-scaling. Yeah, beautiful. Oh, so good. And we're going to get to set this up, which is super exciting. Super exciting. All right, let's move on. Came across a Kubernetes story during the week, and look, admittedly, we don't talk about Kubernetes much on the show, but this was a new feature that came into GA, so I thought it'd be worth mentioning. Kubernetes Engine Gateway Controller is now GA for single cluster deployments. So we're talking about a thing called Gateway API here. It's an open source role-based standard for service networking. Now, in the past, each service owner in a GKE cluster made individual decisions about their choice of ingress, which led to inconsistencies and all different ways of ingressing into their cluster. Now what we have is a single gateway to do that, and you can define routes within that gateway, and it just gives a single point of ingress.
Right. Okay. Yep. Nice.
Right. So if you look at our diagram here, and I'll link to this in the show notes, you see we have a gateway with an administrator, and each service is accessible via just a simple route in the gateway.
Yeah, gotcha. So you don't have to stand up your own Nginx ingress or anything like that, because you can provide that to your customers. Yeah, cool.
Yep. Take a quote from the article here. Thanks to the flexibility and separation of concerns built into Gateway API, GKE platform administrators can now attach a secure shared load balancer to a GKE cluster and let service owners define routing and traffic management policies to access their applications running in this multi-tenant GKE cluster. Why would you want to do this? Well, you get the following capabilities. A shared gateway, as we discussed, that's previously been a real big pain point. By defining that single gateway, a single shared load balancer is created for the entire cluster, and each application team can define their own routes to express the expected routing behavior for their namespace. So the route is attached to the gateway, which keeps the forwarding decisions central without compromising the distributed nature of Kubernetes.
Right. Yeah. So you're taking that off your developers, right? You don't have to worry about the ingress. Just put the routes in, and this will help.
Yeah. So it's imagine a reverse proxy in front of a traditional infrastructure. That's basically what this is. Global external routing and regional internal load balancing. So it sounds like to me they're leveraging Google Cloud load balancers that already existed. So you can get the GKE gateway controller comes default with two classes, global external load balancer and regional internal. Of course, because now you're doing that, you'll get end-to-end encryption because that was already existed. And you'll get things like advanced traffic management, which you can do traffic splitting, you can do policy forwarding, things like that. Cool new feature. Simplifies things a lot more. They've got a roadmap for multi-cluster gateways. So you could have obviously more than one cluster and then have a route map in front of those clusters and then decide where that gateway is going to send each request.
Yep. Depending on where your customers are, or
depending on where your customers are. So you're load balancing clusters now. Yeah, and because you are using the Google Cloud Load Balancer, you'll get other features like SSL policies, HTTP redirects, identity aware proxy, and Cloud Armor.
All the things that you really want to keep.
All the things that you really want. They're all the things that if you've got a web app, you really need to put it behind a load balancer and employ some of those features. Cool, let's move on then. An article that, Dave, you brought this to my attention. Use cases are still emerging for next generation cloud architecture. Now, do we have a definition of what next generation cloud architecture is?
That's what kind of drew me to. It's really what drew me to this article. Like, what is next generation cloud? And like, I've heard of things like next generation firewalls, and like, okay, but what is this next generation cloud architecture? But I mean, really what the article is going into is talking about like the distributed cloud services by the big providers, right? Which, Google has their own one, is Distributed Cloud Edge, which is a way for you to be able to bring like your Google Cloud services into your own data center or closer to you if you don't have a GCP region nearby. And then the other hyperscalers have this too. You can get like Azure Stack, and I can't remember what the AWS one is, but it was interesting in that they're talking really about this, distributed cloud being like a decentralized approach, like being able to pull it out from the regions. But I mean, you do still, it's not decentralized in that you're going completely your own way. You're really just more extending the cloud into your own footprints.
Yeah. Take a quote here from this article. CIOs are very interested in distributed cloud. If you can't go to the public cloud, how do you bring the public cloud to you? And I think this is all about in some industries, the general nervousness about using cloud services.
Yeah, and some industries, though, are super latency dependent, right? Like if you've got a use case where, well, actually, yeah, I've got these, I've got, say, something in the manufacturing line, I've got like a PLC or something that needs to be switched on or off like really quickly. Maybe I can't handle the latency of going off to like my closest region. Say my closest region is 6 or 10 or 20 milliseconds away.
Yeah.
It might not be fit for purpose. Like I really want to use the cloud and I want to manage it. And this article
does call that out. If you're in the west coast of Australia at the moment, you're hosed.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's all East Coast at the moment.
Exactly right. So, this does give you a capability of going, okay, well, we'll extend the footprint to your data center. You can host the services that you need that are latency or bandwidth dependent. You can run them there. And for everything else, there's, the main regions.
So there is an interesting quote in here. It says, one of the barriers to uptake is that organizations are still extracting sufficient value from centralized cloud and the access to innovation and agility that it provides. Now, I remember there was an article that we covered on the last show that said the opposite to this. In fact, that article said something along the lines of small to medium businesses. Cloud is no good for small to medium businesses. It's too costly and too complex. We're not seeing the value.
Yeah, so I think we said last fortnight, I think we said everything that we could possibly say about how we felt about that argument.
Yes.
But I do actually, this quote is actually pretty interesting because it is showing, though, that like most companies are still well on the path to like adopt the cloud as much as they can. And I think what they're saying is like they can still get a lot of value, even if like the example I was using before about having like really low latency requirement. Well, that same organization might still be able to move plenty of things to the cloud that don't require that. And they're actively working on that, right? So there's only so many engineers you can hire. There's only, so much time and budget in any given year to migrate your workloads. So this is probably more like edge case stuff. They might that same company could go, all right, well, this one system that's very latency specific, we'll put a pin in that one for now. We'll go work on everything else that we've got to do. And then maybe by the time we're ready to do this one, there'll be another region deployed, or they can look at it, a distributed service.
Yep.
So, I think it's just showing that just generally speaking, like cloud adoptions are just accelerating so rapidly, and we'll come back to these edge cases later. That's the agile approach, right?
Yeah, that's right. You pick the low-hanging fruit. You get to go for the easy wins. You may have a sudden pivot in your organization where that product or service or whatever it is may become redundant. So there may be no need to migrate it to the cloud. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But yeah, we always spruik it. We always say it. If you do it the right way, it can be cheaper and easier and better.
And I think there was an interesting point in there that was talking about just like multi-cloud and how much organizations were struggling there. And I think that sort of came down to the point of like, again, getting experienced talent to be able to do that. It was already hard enough trying to find enough qualified cloud engineers in any particular hyperscaler, but then finding people who are skilled in both or three or four or however many you end up wanting to choose, and skilled in the ones that you want to choose, like you might
that particular combination.
Yeah, it's like you might want to do GCP and Azure, but you can only find an AWS and Azure person. So yeah, it does. The more requirements you have, the more complexity you're going to have in trying to find people. Yeah,
that's right. You don't need multi-cloud. Just stay with GCP. We can do all of it. We can do all of it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the next item here. Another new feature, Google Cloud Private Marketplace.
Yeah, this is a nice little feature. In fact, when this was announced, it kind of clicked for me of like, oh, I'm actually surprised that they didn't have that before.
Yeah, how did this not exist? So, I mean, everyone's familiar with the marketplace. You just go in, you click a box, and it runs usually it would run a cloud build and then go away in your project and then build that product in your project.
Yeah, like give me a lamp stack by Bitnami. You know, it's press the button, off it goes.
Off it goes, yeah. Well, the new private marketplace feature allows IT and cloud administrators to create a private, curated version of Google Cloud Marketplace that's accessible to employees within their organization.
It's a very good idea. Like, why not?
Good idea, yeah. If you want to spin up some tooling for your sort of local tooling for your team, set up a project, get an endorsed thing from the private marketplace for your business and spin it up. You got access to it. Yeah, so why would you want to do it? Well, it gives curated product collections for your org, right? Will ensure that they can identify pre-approved products quickly with certainty. Prevents redundant products. Now, this is something I hadn't thought about. It will simplify the knowledge sharing, right? So if you've got product from company ABC and then another product from company XYZ and they both do the same thing, doesn't it make sense for your org to standardize on the one tool so everyone can share knowledge around that tool?
Yeah, it certainly does.
Yeah. And reduces shadow IT. Yeah, setting up a private marketplace allows you to enforce controls by only showing approved products and encourage their use. We don't want to be using products that fall outside corporate policies or break the paradigm of the way the cloud should be used within the corporate or do nefarious things. Using one that's been certified is, it's a much better situation.
And it seems like it's really straightforward to set up as well. It doesn't seem like it's too involved to go into cloud marketplace and create a collection and then sort of publish it to your organization. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, okay. It's got the instructions here. I'll link in the show notes. Give it a name, add products, click share to your organization. Nice.
Yeah, straightforward.
And then you make your private marketplace visible on Google Cloud Marketplace. Very nice. Yeah, so that's one to check out. All right, and this last item here, this was great. Look, this is an awesome read. This was a blog on the New Stack, and it was called "What a Broken Wheel Taught Google Site Reliability Engineers." Now, it's actually a link off to the main article, but this article summarizes it quite well. And look, there's going to be a few spoilers here.
Yeah, so I hadn't read this article before the show, right? So you've got me scrolling through it in advance, and okay, I'll let you go into it.
Well, it's an SRE article, and they're talking about SRE at Google scale, and they're talking about. They bring up a couple of really great points. They talk about how every incident should be unique. That's the first thing, right? So that's really something that they strive for. So every incident, every problem that comes in should be unique. If it's not unique, it means they didn't fix it last time.
Yeah. Right.
So that's kind of the first thing. Something else they mention is at Google scale, 1,000,000 to 1 chances happen all the time. Right, so it seems unlikely, but yeah, it's going to happen because they've got so many servers, right, and so many data centers. The main sort of point around this article was this incident they had where they had a rack, and this sounds like a horror story. It really sounds like one. Maybe we should let them know a couple of our horror stories, but they had a rack where the rear caster wheels had fallen off the rack, and the servers were in the rack, and of course it was on a lean. And because it was on lean, the coolant flow was affected, which caused the CPUs to overheat and go into throttle mode. That was the root cause of the incident. It wasn't because some process was hogging memory or consuming too many threads or constantly restarting.
It was an Isaac Newton problem.
Problem with gravity. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so, I mean, that is about, as I say, as the bottom of the stack as you can get. It was a physical problem in the data center. Now, they also point out another good point in this article where they say no one goes in data centers anymore. You wouldn't normally see that. The lights are out, right? You wouldn't be in there walking around seeing that. Something that they quote in the blog, they say there was another known case where a rack had fallen through the floor tiles and was sitting on the concrete floor, right, but was still running, right? And it could have, no one knows how long it was like that for.
Just the floor
right?
just collapsed and...
The floor just collapsed and it's just sitting on the concrete under the tiles. So, yeah, as a result of these wheels the casters falling off the rack, they made a problem ticket out of it and they went around, they inspected all the racks and all the wheels and they found several other racks that have this problem with the casters and they had a program of work to go and replace all the casters.
And then what do you need to do? You need to put I'm envisioning a way to fix it permanently, right? I'm picturing like a spirit level with a camera on it. Like,
no, you could build a tilt switch circuit from a Raspberry Pi and hook that up.
Oh, yeah, with a little Mercury switch.
A little Mercury switch in it. Yeah,
nice.
that's
okay, we're out of calibration. But I like the idea of having a spirit level with a camera on it, like Cloudflare do with their generating entropy with the lava lamps.
Oh,
that's what I'm
with
picturing.
The lava lamps.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you're right though, because you just don't go to the DC anymore. Even if you've got a colo facility, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to the DC next week. Does anyone have anything they need done? It's not like the days where it's like the next room and the IT guys are, sitting next to the white noise.
And the door opens up, woo, and then it closes. Oh, stop going into that room.
Yeah. Constantly just the sound of people badging in and out of going to the server room.
That's it. Those were the days. But look, there's also a great link off of this page, linked to the software folklore. Now, software folklore is a bunch of stories which are very similar to our horror stories, including a now infamous story about OpenOffice not printing on Tuesdays. Now, I'd heard this one before.
Not printing on Tuesdays.
OpenOffice not printing. I'd heard this one before, and that's spoiler alert, but, there's plenty of other stories you can read about. Yeah, a famous ticket where that was put in, OpenOffice doesn't print on Tuesdays. Well, what the heck's going on? Why doesn't it print on Tuesdays? Turns out there was a control code in the date time header that was mucking up the PDF, the post descriptor that went to the printer and was crashing the printer. It would only happen on Tuesdays because that was the control code for Tuesdays.
Oh, wow.
Yes, that story and many more can be found on Software Folklore, which is linked in the link that I'll put in the show notes. Also bring up a good SRE point in this article, and that is it's better to spend much more effort on catching symptoms than causes. When it comes to causes, only worry about very definite, very immediate causes.
Yeah, true. Like, because you want to be able to solve for families of problems.
You want to know the symptom, right? Yeah. Not so much the cause. So an example might be a really simple example. You've got a bunch of CPU. You got a system. It's got high CPU, like 99% CPU load, but it's fine, right? There's no symptom from that, right? So do you do anything about it? Do you worry about it?
Yeah,
there's no need to, right?
Measure the valuable metrics.
Yeah. That's right. You might be measuring CPU. You might say 99%, but is it causing a problem?
Yeah.
Well,
it's like like there's plenty of systems, think like, big database servers, right? Where they will take as much memory as you can give them, right? Like you give the server 100 gig of memory and it will take 100 gig of memory because it'll fill it with cache. Yep. And then you go, oh, okay, well, we'll give it an extra 50 gig. And it's instantly using an extra 50 gig. So, yeah, that's fine.
It's going to do that, yeah. Do you need to do that? Have you got like latent requests? Maybe you should look at optimizing your requests a little bit more so they're not so huge. So, that can be a way to fix it, depending on what your symptom is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so great read. Lots of good folklore stuff in there. Good lessons on SRE.
And we love a horror story.
We love a horror story, yeah. All right, and we've got one little surprise at the end of this show. I was in the Mantle Group office last Friday and catching up with a few of the guys there. We had our team retro, which was quite a pleasant affair. Bit of hanging out and just shooting the breeze and talking about what we did well and what we sometimes maybe what we didn't do so well. All really good and really
where we want to go, right? Like
really constructive, yeah. So I caught up with one of our engineers there at Dish, and I took him aside, and we had a little chat in a little side room there for about 10 minutes, and I've got an interview here for you guys to listen to. So let's get on with the interview. All right, meet the Kasnians, sitting down with the Dish. This is, I think, will be our second interview for Meet the Kasnians. And how are you going, Dish?
Fantastic. We just had a team retro today.
We did, yeah.
Lots of fun, so can't complain. And it's a Friday afternoon, so perfect.
It's nice, and we're just sitting here with a glass of wine, just relaxing at the Kasna Mantle Group offices here. And no, it was a good retro. It was good.
It was great retro to talk about what's worked, what's not worked. It's that reflection periodically is really nice too.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Mantle and Kasna does really well, right? Like the reflection on culture and the importance of maintaining our culture.
Yeah. Even at the end of every project, right? We do a retro to see how what we did well and what we could improve. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we could talk about Kasna and Mantle all day, but that's not what we're here for. We're going to talk about you, Adish. This is Meet the Kasnians. So tell us about yourself, how you got involved with Kasna and sort of what your background is.
Absolutely. So I graduated from uni at the end of 2019 and started working from 2020, which is when COVID hit as well. So started my career as a software engineer, network software engineer at Telstra, which I believe you worked.
I have some history of Telstra, yes.
I think we've had conversations before about us having that shared history of Telstra at different points as well.
Absolutely.
So went through the graduate program, which is fresh out of uni. They teach you a lot about being a professional in the corporate world, teach a lot of technical skills, software engineering, network engineering, all that sorts.
Yeah.
So I did that for about 18 months. Then I kind of, working in a big organization felt a bit soul destroying. You just felt like one of tens of thousands of people.
I can sympathize with that.
Yeah. So I thought I just wanted a bit of a change, wanted to work in a smaller organization, but also equally I love solving problems, right? So I thought it would be great to work for a company that, has a known history of being a great place to work and then grow myself as well in that way.
And, well, I mean, Kasna and Mantle aren't like super small. I wouldn't call them like small.
It was at that point.
It was at that point, absolutely. Yeah, we're approaching medium size now, but we still really do have that small business feel, don't we?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. It's like a family culture is what I would describe it as. Like we know so many people, like you and me, we've worked in a few projects before, but we still, talk to each other randomly, which is great.
Yeah, that's right. And what are you doing day to day at the moment? Or we can't give too many details about our clients and the rest of it.
Yeah.
I think our listeners know that. But day to day, what are you doing?
Absolutely. So, few things. One is client work. So I'm working in a small startup building the GCP foundations to allow them to scale to the next level.
Yeah. And what sort of tech are you doing with that? What Google tech are you using with that?
Cloud Run, Cloud Build, BigQuery. So all your serverless offerings, because startups love serverless offerings, right?
Yeah.
Low cost, easy to scale, easy to maintain. So that's one of my main focuses. And the other focus is the early careers program that Mantel and Kasna.
You are involved in that. Absolutely. I see your name pop up all the time in relation to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I find it a really rewarding experience helping our trainees and future associates, hone their skills in technology. And a lot of our future associates are career changers as well.
Right.
So when I see in 3 months' time how they go from knowing nothing about tech to being able to present in front of an audience of 500-600.
Yeah, right. On a subject they knew nothing about previously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's incredible because I think I don't think I would be able to do that in 3 months. And I think these trainees and future associates, they learn so much through these programs. And it's just absolutely incredible. Yeah,
it is amazing if you're given that opportunity to focus intensely on something, how quickly people can come up to par with something.
Yeah, and I'm still fairly early in my tech career, I'd say, and I almost wish I had the same experience that these guys get.
Just to get that leg up.
Yeah, exactly. And the technical learnings, the consulting skills, the camaraderie they have between their cohort, it's just fantastic to see from the outside.
Yeah. So what would you say has been your most rewarding activity? Outside of that, obviously, because that sounded like that was a fantastic opportunity. In terms of project work, what's been your most rewarding project?
The one I'm currently at, actually.
Right.
And that's because I've been involved in bigger enterprise clients like your big four banks or other financial institutions. Whereas the current company I'm working with, they're a small startup, and it's incredible to see how currently they can't scale to the degree they want to go, but me going in and being able to help them to scale their product so that they can go from 2 million data points to 10 million, so that's 5x growth, and providing a platform that they can go 10x, 100x growth. I think it's incredible. Like, we talk about how tech can really change lives. Like this company works on making the lives of farmers better. So I think it's really rewarding experience there.
And do you find, I know I personally went through this, when you get a client like that and they're making that switch from like an old sort of 90s on-prem philosophy to a cloud-centric philosophy.
Yeah.
And when they have that light bulb moment and go, oh yeah, that's the way it should be done. Like, I know I've had that happen a few times, and that personally happened to me, and it's like, that's very rewarding. They get it now.
100%.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, they were already on GCP, but they weren't using the right tools.
They were running it like, yes.
So, for example, they were using Cloud SQL for all their analytics workloads. But, we've got BigQuery to do all the analytics workloads in seconds. So their processing time went from minutes down to seconds by just using BigQuery.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible just having the right tools to do what needs to be done, right? It's just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, and going from that, we talk about it all the time, from that pets to cattle philosophy.
100%.
You're not logging into boxes and, looking, manicuring these boxes perfectly. They should be throwaway commodities, right?
Yeah. So that was one of the questions the client asked, because they were in a Kubernetes engine, and, Kubernetes is great, and you can log into these Kubernetes containers and see what's happening, right? But we moved to Cloud Run, which is completely serverless. So it was very hard for them to get used to the fact that You don't need to log into anything.
Why are you going on there? Stop logging into those boxes.
Exactly.
It's not important.
You've got cloud logs.
Yeah. I'm finding that too. I mean, I'm doing a lot of VMware and GCVE stuff, right? And it's very heavy network focused, right? And the networking engineers are used to going in and looking at BGP and the routing tables and all that stuff. You don't need to, right? It's all looked after and it's all managed under the hood. It's like, well, that's the whole idea of cloud, right? To take all that heavy lifting off your hands. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, I know you are a networking guru here in Kasna. I come more from...
You're going to call me that?
I come more from a software engineering background, so I'm more of a developer. So I just love the serverless components in GCP. That's my bread and butter. Just like, your VMware, GCVE is what you love doing. Yeah. I just love using all the serverless offerings and help clients that way.
They're all awesome. Yeah. They're all awesome products.
100%. Yeah.
All right, and look, one question I'm going to ask every person I interview: what is your favorite movie, and why?
What is my favorite movie? It changes when you ask me, but the recent movie that I watched, which I absolutely enjoyed, was The Pianist.
Pianist, right? Now I'm a keyboard player, and I don't believe I've actually seen that.
No, so I am fascinated by modern history as well, and this movie is about this Jewish pianist from Poland during the time of invasion from Nazi Germany.
Amazing, yeah.
And it goes through this survival journey of, he makes it through the entire invasion without being captured or without losing his life. He loses his family, he loses his friends, but he somehow makes it through till the end. And just seeing that journey, we go through so much stuff in our lives, but just keeping your heads down and focusing on who you are and what you want to do, it just gives you that motivation for me.
Yeah, right, okay. It's good motivational flick, is it?
Yeah, it's a great movie. Highly recommend.
All right, I'll go and see it. Yeah,
yes.
A dish, 5 out of 5 from a dish, eh?
Yes,
absolutely. All right, mate, it's been good to catch up.
Absolutely. Good to see you in person as well.
Yeah, I know. Once we're here here in person, and I don't mind coming to the office every now and then.
For the team drinks, team events.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Fantastic.
And working from home, perfect.
Yeah. Well, we've got the best collaboration tools in the world, so it makes it all the more easier.
Google Workspace,
yeah. All right, mate. Thanks for everything.
Thanks a lot, Banky. Thanks for having me here.
Awesome. Well, that's probably enough for this fortnight. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I think that'll do. That's gotta get back to it.
Got to get back to it. Yeah, get back to this GCVE stuff. Of course, we're on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. If you're listening on iTunes, go write us a review. That'll really help the show out. Of course, you can contact the show, gcplife@kasna.com.au. And we are on Twitter, at GCP Life. You can check us out on the website. You can Google that now and you'll find us. And I think they're going to update my photo because they took a photo of me with my arms crossed as well. And I had the GCP Life shirt on. So that's going to be thrilling to see. And of course, today's sponsor was Kasna. At Kasna, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. That's about it for us. You got anything else to add, Dave?
No, I'll let everyone go. Give them back a couple of minutes of their day.
Yeah. Thanks for spending time with us, guys. We'll catch you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.
You can go onto our YouTube channel, Kasna Between Two Chows YouTube channel.
Between Two Chows. like the dogs or like between meals?
I'm not even going to mention that today.
I want to have it between two
I'm gonna
chows.
start
It was like, yeah, have a
Two
meal, have a
chow.
podcast, and then have another meal. Google Chow platform. I suppose that would be what like the canteen would be called in a Google office.
Yeah, that's right. Or maybe in the Kasner office, that can be. We can put chow time up on in the mantle office canteen.
No.
Anyway, all right. I don't do all that again.
Let me out of this podcast.
Are we done yet?